On the 29th of October 2010, Microsoft committed a mistake that would cost them well over $7 billion, even close to 8. This action was arguably one of the greatest mistakes of Microsoft history. That day, a product that is still today being admired and manages to impress people got released. However, at the time, it was not seen the way that we see it today. The Windows Phone. To give a small background information, the Windows Phone was Microsoft's take at the two dominant OSs of the time, iOS and Android. If you think about it, the Windows Phone's sales intentions are spectacular. It runs Windows, especially a touch-friendly one, which highly resembles the start menu of Windows 8 by the way, which would be released 2 years later. If you want to see why Windows 8 failed, then click on the top right-hand corner after this video. The update from the CE kernel to an NT kernel used in the PCs was so much better, and I think this product had a lot of potential, but unfortunately Microsoft's plans were about to backfire. There are 3 major topics to uncover to reach our final answer, so bear with me until the end, because not everything is as simple as it seems. Part 1. Too late. So, comparing to why Windows 8 failed, the Windows Phone did many more things right and better than Windows 8. The key aspect that made everything flop was, again, wrong timing. In an era in which smartphones used to look like this, Apple's new and minimalistic design was very attractive to most users, but not only, it was also innovative. Rest in peace, Steve Jobs. This made the iPhone a sudden explosion in the smartphone industry. A year later, Android started emerging, and after roughly 3 years, the February of 2010, the Windows Phone was announced and launched in October of the same year. This here is a very popular phone of the era, the iPhone 3, which was released in 2008. Then the iPhone 4 was gaining popularity in 2010. Android 2.3 Gingerbread was released. Many phone manufacturers were adopting it as their main platform, and also app-making companies were using these two OSs to make their apps. Many companies didn't even see any advantages of investing on a Windows Phone. For instance, think that you are the CEO of WhatsApp, for example. Would you spend your time on perfectioning and optimizing your app for two greatest and emerging OSs of the time, from which you can actually make profit from, or would you gamble it and risk investment by making your app from scratch to function on a completely different environment which requires different optimizations and animations? Not only WhatsApp, they're just an example, same goes for any other app. Also, the popular apps had already been in the shelves of the Play Store and App Store for nearly 2 years already, and for them it made no sense to risk their money in a newly emerging operating system. Also, Google stopped the fundings to make apps for Windows Phone 8 and 8.1 in 2012. Back then, Android was not perfect, but the fact that there were no Google services baked in nor installable from the Microsoft Store made the Windows Phone feel not as worthy. The only way to open Gmail and YouTube was from the browser. Being so late to the phone market, Microsoft actually was in a not bad position. People gave it a chance, but Microsoft was left in the shade of the giants of the time. iOS had a really high market share, though in a slight decline. Android was increasing in popularity, and the old phones with keyboards were decreasing drastically. If Microsoft had encouraged app developers to build apps for the Windows Phone by funding from Microsoft themselves, today we might have been talking differently. Part 2. Partnership with Nokia. As Microsoft was very ambitious to get itself apart in the smartphone market, as providing the OS for other brands didn't work as they wanted, they partnered up in the long term with Nokia. This collaboration happened roughly 1 year later the first Windows Phone got released, in 2011's November. As a fun fact, the name of Lumia derives from the Finnish word lumi, which means snow. The more you know. On September 2013, Microsoft purchased Nokia's mobile device business for $7.2 billion. But Microsoft didn't change the brand name of Nokia up until 2014. Another factor was the introduction of Windows 10. For some reason, this introduction reduced the sales of Windows Phone drastically. In my opinion, instead of buying the Nokia's mobile department, Microsoft could have encouraged developers and manufacturers to make the experience of using a Windows Phone much better. I'm not an economist nor a CEO, but those $7.2 billion could have been spent in a much better way. I think Microsoft was too much self-confident and didn't calculate all the moves ahead. Part 3. Connotations. This might not be the strongest argument to make, but For all the reasons listed in the previous video about why Windows 8 failed, including factors like unfamiliarity, complexity, and the not too welcoming start menu, were carried over to Windows Phone's reputation, believe it or not, as people associated the two products as they had very similar names and the Metro UI was very similar. But in my opinion, that UI actually worked much better in the phones, also aesthetically better than Android and iOS at the time. If I can get my hands onto one of them, I'd like to make a video of it. Adding up all the money spent making the Lumia phones were much higher than $7 billion, probably close to 8, including research and development, investments, programming, and producing. I think it had a lot of potential, but it wasn't all used in the most effective way possible. I really wish this phone would come back someday, somehow. Also, the CEO of Microsoft reported that he would have liked to continue the Windows Phone, and it was an error what they did when they discontinued it. Thanks a lot for watching.